Hello guys, Stormy here, and it is a new season in Forza. It's autumn now, summer has passed, and with that comes a new Forzathon, new Forzathon challenges, and a new car. And for this week, the new car is the Ford Racing Puma. Now, I had never heard of this car until this update. I know literally nothing about it. What I do know is that a lot of people apparently like this car. And I personally, just from first impressions, my opinion might change. I think it's pretty ugly. Not a big fan. But we're going to be unlocking this car today, and we're going to be unlocking it through this event right here, the Cool Cats event. It is a road racing series, and it takes A-class Jaguars. Uh, what's funny is all these Jags that it shows off, not this one so much, or this one, but that one's a 10 million credit car, and I'm not going to spend that on that car. They're all really high A class. Thankfully, though, there are a couple Jags that start below A class, so we can upgrade those up on our own, and no problems there. The only real problem I have with cars starting with pretty high PI ratings is you don't really have a chance to build the car the way you want. But when you start with a car with a lower PI, obviously you get more building freedom. And in the case of today's car, I've got one in mind already, but let's real quick check the Forzathon shop. You can see we've got a couple nice cars. That Mustang RTR there is a pretty nice car. I've actually got both of the versions of that car already, that one and the other. It's basically the same car, but it's a different livery. I've got both of those. They're both pretty nice, fun to drive. Uh, this Renault, I didn't know this was in the game. I haven't seen it before, but I'll just buy it now. 450, that's not too bad. I'm assuming it's a Forzathon car. It might not be, but just grab it if you have the points, why not? So moving on to the car for today, I've already got it in my garage. This guy right here, the XJS 1990s. This is going to be the car we use because it starts, as you can see, mid C class. That gives us plenty of room to upgrade it up. I've already got an idea of how I'm going to upgrade it, and I'm not going to do the typical sort of upgrade that I would do, I don't think. I've kind of got a plan this time around. As far as my plan's concerned, I'm not really sure if it's going to work or not. I might not. No, I'm going to do the full weight reduction. Yeah, that's going to happen. I'm going to do drag tires. That is part of the plan. Wow, that shoots us straight up into low A class. I didn't quite expect that. That might put a wrench in my plan. But I'm still going to do it. Going to make the rear tires as massive as possible so we don't get any wheel spin. And now let's see what we can do for power. Because this is kind of the rest of my plan. Just do drag tires and weight reduction and then throw power at it and see where we can get. I'm hoping for something kind of silly high power, but being that the car's rear wheel drive, it might not like it so much. Already over 400, that's pretty good. 450. Ooh, we can get almost 490 out of it. Let's go with that. I might wind up bringing it down a little bit. Let's see what else we can throw at it. Those brakes don't seem that great. No, I'm gonna ignore those. I am gonna slap these on just because. Only 1 PI. Usually they're pretty low hit. Now this guy. Okay, that's what I was looking for. No change. Obviously the differential. See how much weight this takes out. 1 PI for 15 pounds. That's probably what I'm going to go with. What about these? Can drop some weight. I can't put the front splitter on. That might be a little bit of a bother. Might end up with some understeer. I doubt I'm going to wind up with too much oversteer because of these drag tires. Can again pull more weight off. That's only 4 pounds. Okay, I'm gonna put on that drive line, and then I'm gonna put on some lighter rims. See where that leaves me. Right on A-class. That's another 32 pounds. That's a lot. Let's get something that I think looks a little better. For this car specifically, that's gonna be a pretty tall order. I might just go with those, just because they kind of look like race car rims. Oof. This is gonna be something. I'll just jump back when I found the rims I want. Saying that, I went over one set of rims and I think I like these. Now let's see if I can sneak anything else onto this. Clutch? No. How about the flywheel? 2 pounds? 2 pounds from the flywheel, I'll take it. Alright, so our build has just about 500 horsepower, 3,000 pounds. Not the widest tires of all time. It should be fun. Alright, here we are. It figures I spend all that time. It wasn't really any time. I spend time looking for rims that I think look nice on the car, and then I just go and give it a rusted paint job. I have no idea if this build is gonna really work out, but I thought I'd give it a shot anyways. It's basically just a drag car for the road. 490 horsepower, then those giant rear drag tires. It's just a drag car for the road. Although I didn't realize when I chose this car that it only has 3 gears. So that slows it down a little bit. I tuned it down so that it only hits 180 on the top end, but I get a little bit more acceleration out of it. And you know, it looks like it's working pretty well. I'm telling you, man, these drag tires are something else entirely. They should not work as well as they do, but they do. They just work well on everything. And I really do feel in that video I just made, I pretty much showed that as long as the weather conditions are good on a track, if you put drag tires on a car, it's not going to hurt you in any way. You might lose a bit of power comparably to street tires, but the tires themselves make up for the acceleration loss. They don't make up for top speed loss, I don't think. But I have noticed when building top speed cars, if you put drag tires on them, you can usually get out a couple more miles per hour on the top end than without them, which I think is fairly interesting considering drag tires would usually cause more friction on the road, which should slow you down, but they just don't. They just seem to work in this game for everything you could imagine. I was even just driving this car off-road getting here, and it wasn't doing that bad. Now obviously it's no tire meant for off-road, but if you have to drive it off-road you can, or at least in the case of this car it was okay. You can see I pretty much walked away from the field already, and these drivatars are set to expert like normal for me. I think I said it before. I don't like driving on anything above expert because it feels like the game is giving their cars an unfair advantage. Not like the AI itself is actually doing any better, but like their cars have just received power boosts. So in the case of like straight line speed, they get faster, but everywhere else they're just normal. It's kind of annoying, and it feels like there's a catch-up, or it feels like there's a catch-up effect that's applied. But I don't think there actually is a catch-up effect applied. I think it's literally just the game gives them more power than they otherwise would have. But yeah, it looks like I pretty much just walked away from the field this time. I think this build is probably going to work out pretty well. I noticed, I think this was the only sprint race on this event list. I think the next two are circuit race, so we'll see how they do. Alright, so we're at the Greendale Circuit for the next event, and I'm actually really looking forward to this track, because there is quite a straight on this track. Look at this guy just driving out right in front of me. But yeah, there's a pretty good sized straight on this track, and I'm really looking forward to testing this car out on it. Come on, man, get out of the way. There you go. But yeah, that there's a really nice complex of turns at the end of this track. I think this track's actually fairly underrated on this game. I think this one's really nice. This turn here is a little funky, but I generally think this track's pretty good overall. It flows pretty well. And yeah, here's the last complex of corners. If you get it just right, these two corners flow together pretty well, and then you can carry a lot of speed out of this corner. Not too much when an AI is blocking you, but pretty good. They're keeping up a lot better than I thought they would, honestly. I figured I'd just kind of walk away. But not quite yet. I'll probably wind up losing them through the corners because the AI in this game is generally better on the straights than they are in the corners. I think it's just the way the game builds the AI's cars for them. Because if I'm not wrong, I don't believe the AI builds their cars based off of the Drivatar, or I don't think they use tunes that the actual person whose Drivatar the AI is based off of made. I don't think they use their tunes or upgrades. I think the game just kind of auto-assigns upgrades for cars. Wow, I'm really not trying right now. I'm focused too much on what I'm saying. But yeah, I'm starting to think this is actually a pretty good build on this car, considering it's doing pretty well. I'm really enjoying this. It's just a really nice car to kind of cruise around in. Really enjoyable. I don't think it sounds particularly great. I think there's kind of a generic V12 sound in this game, and this car's kind of got it. Yeah, I think it was the right choice for this event to use this car. I think it gave me the freedom I wanted to build it just about how I wanted it. 3,000 pounds, not the lightest car I've built, but with 490 horsepower, it kind of makes up for it. It still doesn't have the power to weight ratio of other cars I've made, but it's pretty good. And that's 2 of 2. So let's get this last event underway. Another pretty good track here. I actually forget what this one's called, but I do like this track. It's pretty nice, it flows pretty well. Not as good as other tracks in the game, I don't think. I think I prefer the last one to this one. But yeah, this is a pretty good track. You know, this car is doing so much better in this event than I thought it was gonna do, especially after I learned that it only has 3 gears. Went a little wide around that turn. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about this car at this point. I think I'm just gonna finish off the event, get the new Ford Puma, then we'll test it out. Yeah, they are way back there. After I started focusing, I pretty much just wiped the floor with the AI. But that's 3 races down. Alright, we're in my garage. Let's check out this new Ford. Where are you at? Did I pass it? Yes, I did. Here it is. Ford Puma. 1999. 153 horsepower. 2,588 pounds. That's not a bad power to weight ratio. Front wheel drive. Mid C class. Looks pretty promising as a car to upgrade. Yeah, it's definitely a very British Ford. Hence the racing wheel being on the right side of the car instead of the left. I didn't expect it to have actual racing seats though. I know it's called the Ford Racing Puma, but I didn't realize it was quite that much of a race car. Yeah, 99 cars definitely had a very certain style to them. Very bubbly like this one. Not really my favorite. But let's check out the detail. I mentioned on that Toyota that it was kind of lacking in comparison to some of the other newer cars, and right away I see this option to open the hood. And plenty of detail. This is the sort of detail I like seeing with these newer cars. Just really being able to see everything in there. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Go around, turn on the lights. Turn on the lights. There we go. Those don't really light up very much, do they? Don't quite have the problem that one Mercedes had, but they're not super bright. Open the trunk. Yeah, looks good. Nice detail. I like how that flap at the back opens up with those cables. Check out the interior real quick. Got a little bit of a look at those seats from the outside. Yes, from the inside it is very 90s. Wow. That thing's a blast to the past right there. Alright, it looks pretty good. Let's go drive it. So, I just wanted to say a few things before I move on to the next part of the video. Just before I got into this event, I was driving this thing around a little bit and I noticed a couple things. First off, even as a mid C class car, it seems a little slow. I'll need to do some more testing with the car later to kind of get a final opinion on that. But I did notice one thing for sure. When you're getting this thing towards its top speed, just driving down the highway, it has the most obnoxious, repetitive drone noise I have ever heard from a car in this game. I've heard some pretty bad ones, but I want to say that this one right here is the worst. And just so you know what I'm talking about, I'll give you guys a clip right now. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But just before I move on to the next part of the video, because I'm not going to be talking anymore at that point, I just wanted to say a couple things about the car. Not my favorite looking car of all time. It's probably never going to be one of my top favorite looking cars. I will say I like the front a lot more than I like the back. The back I think is pretty ugly. But for the size of the car and what kind of car it is, I do really like that silhouette. That silhouette right there is good for this sort of car. And just before I move on to the next part of the video, I just want to say I hope you enjoy the video because I'm not going to be talking anymore after this part. So if you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you. You're just helping out my channel a little bit, and I really appreciate that. And anyways, I'll move on to the next part of the video now where I just drive the car around. Don't really have any distractions. You can just get an idea for what it sounds like, what it drives like. I'll see you guys later.